Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Let's Get Into Entertainment.
That's what's up,
Fellas.
baby Dave.
I don't know if you heard the open to last week's show. We did a redo of Tommy Harper.
Yep.
And I said, welcome to Let's Get Into Entertainment. And then I said, Davey Day would normally say the business of entertainment.
Right.
And then I said, Tootie would normally say, that's what's up.
Is that how I say it? Is really? That's what's up.
That's exactly how you say it.
I thought it was pretty funny. But Tommy Harper, I thought that was a really good one to replay, considering, now he's working on Maverick Top Gun, which he finished up. But he just finished another film for Netflix.
You said he's in Australia,
He's
right?
in Australia, yeah. And my understanding is that Australia has very, very few, if any, COVID.
It's an island in the middle of the ocean.
Right, but they have a world-class way of keeping COVID out of there, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lock them out.
Lock them out. Or don't test, either one. You
Hey,
pick.
so today we're going to talk about getting into production. I'm starting a new movie.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm starting a new movie at the end of March.
Good to know.
Oh, yeah? What's it called?
It's another Christmas movie. Don't know what it's called. But I want to talk about, sort of the beginnings of that and how stressful it is. I was just finding it really interesting that,
Are you stressed?
yeah, I was thinking about
He
it.
was so stressed Friday, I called him.
Yeah.
He was pedo. He had a rough week.
I was thinking about how interesting it is to be a producer, because you think you get involved with projects and you forget how complicated and stressful it is at the beginning, because you start doing it and you finish it and then it's good and then you release it and then you get a bunch of good reviews, or people like it, and then you don't remember how it was at the beginning. You don't remember that it was stressful. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how that gets started. And I think it's familiar in terms of any business you're in. When you're in production, when you're doing something at the beginning, there's all kinds of thresholds that you need to meet, all kinds of, people getting paid that are either happy with their pay or not happy with their pay or whatever, and a lot of things and a lot of moving parts that have to come together. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the beginning of production and how to not get stopped. Venture, we'll be right back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Let's Get Into Entertainment. We're going to talk about serious business at the beginning of a production. We were just talking about it. When you get started in a film, there's all these thresholds that need to happen.
Oh.
Right? Whether you have an investor, or whether you're working with a network, or whether you're working with a studio, doesn't really matter. There's always the beginning part. Pitch, or you send a script, or someone says, I'll buy it. So what next? So let's say you're on the phone with somebody and they say, oh, this is great. We can't wait to do this. Like, what's next?
It just depends. I mean, if you pitch a script and are they financing your movie, or
let's say they are. They're financing.
Then you go and you make the movie.
Yeah, right. But
you cast your movie, you location scout, you.
Right. So that's the thing, right? Is that you get the okay. Someone says, let's do it. And then there's all these thresholds that have to be met. So then there's notes on the script from whoever you're working with.
Well, you're at a different level. You're talking about like at a studio level or network level.
Whoever.
Where you're at.
Even an investor could have demands.
That's true. Because remember we were talking to Gooch and he said he likes to be involved creatively.
Right.
So even if you're doing it at an indie level, you got an investor who says, let's do this, this, and this, and I want this person in it or that person.
Right. So if you're out there and you just got an okay to, hey, I can't wait to do this, we're going to finance this movie or whatever. There's all these steps that have to happen, right? You have to get into, there has to be a contract, right? Someone has to get paperwork and they have to transfer money and you have to get things going. It's funny because I was just filling out the paperwork, which I do myself for the Screen Actors Guild.
Yeah.
So there's all this paperwork that has to be filled out. That's like, who's the company? Who's the actors? What are they getting paid? What's your schedule? Where's the chain of title for the script? I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff.
That's more than I thought was involved in pre-production.
Get a load of this. They want the chain of title for the script. They want the contract with the writer. They want your agreement with whatever network or distributor that you've made a deal with.
Yeah.
All of that has to go to SAG. And then they have to look at it and go, oh, and you also have to follow all the protocol and spend all the money that you have to spend on making sure people are safe, through this COVID situation. That's only one side. Then you have the other, you have the Directors Guild.
Mm.
They require the same thing. Then when you, let's say your actors are going to cost, I don't know, you have to estimate. Everyone's getting paid bare minimum.
Yeah.
But let's say that comes out to $80,000, $50,000 even. Let's say 50. So if that amount comes out to $50,000 and it goes into your paperwork to SAG, then your bond, which is what you have to give SAG before you start your movie, is about $80,000 because $50,000 plus whatever overtime you may or may not pay.
Right.
Inevitably, you go into overtime. So that's 80, and then you have another 80 for DGA. So now you're 160 in the hole, and you haven't spent a penny on your
movie.
So there's all of these things that are dominoes, right? They could tip to the one side, they can tip to the other. You're in the middle of doing this business, whatever it is. Contract first, unions next, negotiate with your crew. Where are they going to stay? What's the per diem? Think about it. There's an enormous amount of stuff that has to go down. Name of the movie. I mean, I can go on. My list of things that have to happen before a movie can be shot are pretty big. So I think what
do you like the most of those, Robert?
Well, what I was referring to earlier, which I think is fascinating to me, is I feel fairly stressed about a script being great before I shoot it, so that I understand going into the first day of shooting that I'm comfortable and understand how it's going to play out, so that you feel confident that your scenes are the right length, that your actors or your characters are not over talking, that rather than, there was a conversation about a scene recently where they were like, I don't think that character has to say why they're there. And an example is, two siblings see their dad in a store and they're like, hey, Dad, what are you doing here? Oh my gosh, you haven't been here for so long, not since Mom died or whatever. So
I agree with you on that.
There is an opportunity in situations like this when you're reading it. And this sometimes it comes the week before you start. It doesn't necessarily have to come in script notes because sometimes you don't notice, right?
Yeah.
But if you can do a scene where a sibling says to a dad, Dad, it's great to see you, right? It becomes a positive affirmation. Hey, Dad, it's great to see you. What's going on? What are you doing here? And he gives her a look and she goes, I know. It's that time of year or whatever. So you want to look through all of your scenes the day prior to shooting them and make sure that there's not an easier way of just showing what you mean rather than saying what you mean, because film is all about showing, not saying. Sometimes you have to say. Sometimes you have to have that final speech that explains the whole movie and pulls it all together. But really, most of the scenes can be played out in a way where you're not constantly saying what's happening, right? So that's a big part of this. At this point, I'm not getting deep into the script. I'm more like, I just want to make sure the scenes make sense and they're flowing. And then as we move closer to shooting, you start working on that. But I was thinking about how stressful it is at the beginning of a movie because there's a bunch of moving parts. There's the investor and you're all moving in the same direction, right? So you have your start date and all of it is moving together. The contracts, the actors, the producers, the makeup artists, everyone is moving towards the start date. And as a producer, you're in charge of literally every single piece.
Yeah.
So it's almost like sweeping. You ever sweep like water, like sitting water, and you're sweeping on one side, but it's all coming down back on the other side, That's what being a producer is like. You're sweeping on this side and then the water's coming back, and you have to sweep fast enough that you keep all of it moving at the same time so that it ends up at the drain. But I forget, it is stressful, it's complicated, and it all has to work. Like there's not one moment that all of it doesn't have to work. It has to move forward. It has to work, and it all has to go in the drain.
But you enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I forget. Like it's funny. Like you think about this. So last night,
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
It sounds like he hates.
no, I do enjoy it. It's fulfilling.
You like the end result. You like shooting.
it does make your movie better to be way ahead of all of it. If you show up there and you're figuring it out there, yeah, you're going to get through the day. Yeah, the sun's going to come down and you're going to be satisfied with what happened. But the reality is preparation before that day is king. Everyone will tell you pre-production is king, right? So you pre-produce, you get it ready. And on that day, what you think was all set is not all set, but you prepared so much of it that you're actually going to be able to do a good film. So I am totally stoked about making movies. I get really concerned about the process because at any point, if any of these chips fall, then you're not moving forward anymore. So it's really about keeping everyone moving forward in a pleasant way and making sure that you're listening to the people that you trust and doing the things that you have to do to make a good movie.
So I hit you up about E&O. I'm dealing with that right now,
Yeah.
which is just insurance. It's funny because I was talking to my cousin-in-law, who's a filmmaker. He did that movie he actually ended up making it started with 7, like me. It started with 7, ended with 20. And it did pretty well. He won some festivals. Stephen King commented on it on Instagram or Twitter or something. Anyways, he didn't have E&O. Like I was asking him because he went with Indie Rights to distribute his movie. And so I saw him this weekend and I said, how much was your E&O? And he said, I didn't have to pay any of that. My Indie Rights did it. I just have to pay them a percent. They take a percentage of what we make. So it's almost like a management or an agent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But so how many things would you say are moving in pre-production? Because I'm only dealing with E&O right now, and then I get deliverables because I'm going to go with Quiver. So there's only really like 2 to 3 things that I have to have ready to go.
Yeah.
For you in pre-production on a bigger film like this, what would you say? So you have contracts, you have SAG, you have DGA, you have production.
I mean, I'll go through it a little bit just so that you understand. And by the way, what Tootie is talking about is errors and omissions, right?
Yeah.
If you make a movie, you have to have errors and omissions insurance because if someone decides that you are copying them or misrepresented their character or told their story improperly, or someone says, hey, you stole that idea from me, errors and omissions up to $1 million will cover and represent you or your movie. So you have to have errors and omissions. But in terms of preparation, it's a weird thing, because I think this is what makes great filmmakers is that it's not just about making the movie. It's about preparing yourself to make the movie. So unless you're doing what you did, which is a $7,000 movie, $10,000 movie, under $30,000 movie, when you're just surviving the filmmaking.
Yeah.
Right. That's different. But if someone has trusted you with hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, then I think your responsibility is to prepare yourself the best that you can. So in pre-production, you've got unions, you've got, a line producer. Ours is Gemma Jones. She's amazing. She's got some of her crew sort of set. She's got a budget set. But you start thinking about like the scenes in the movie where there's art department, where you don't want to just guess and show up that day and grab whatever's around you. So there's art department, there's wardrobe, there's locations. So in our case, we jumped on a plane a month ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And went to New Mexico, checked out the locations, talked to the film commission, talked to the mayor, talked to the hotel. We actually called ahead of time and said, would you want to house us in your hotel? If you do, set us up for a couple of nights and let us look at the hotel. Let us talk to you about it. And maybe we'll use it for our production. And you give us a good deal. All of that worked out. But partially to be a good producer, you have to get to where you're going ahead of time and talk to people that are going to be helping you. And, there's tax credits involved with movies. Certain cities give you tax credits.
Yeah.
Well, the mistake you can make, and you shouldn't make it, is that there's people in that city that are experts in tax credits. and you talk to them about, well, how do I qualify for the most amount of tax credit? And you have those conversations and you try your best to do everything necessary to get the highest amount of tax credit.
Yeah. There's countries like we had Stephen Bernstein on a while back, who we should have on again. He's in Greece, 40%. And Greece has all kinds of shit, dude.
Right. And you hear that, right? You hear, hey, you can get 40% tax credit from Greece.
Yeah.
The difference is, and even in New Mexico, there's a tax credit, but it's not as easy as saying like, oh, it's 30% tax credit, right?
Yep.
If I show up there as a producer and I'm making my movie and I'm getting paid $50,000, it doesn't necessarily mean, in fact, I don't qualify for the tax credit as a producer. So my money doesn't qualify for tax credit. Local people that I hire qualify. If I'm staying in a hotel there, it qualifies. If I'm renting cars there, it qualifies. There's not a whole lot that does, and different levels. If I go shoot in a place like Punta de Cruz or whatever it is, if it's a smaller town with with a small population, then you get 35% tax credit of the money that you spend in that town. So it's all research and experts and people that are going to help you do it, And a lot of times when you're small, you don't have all that. You just have to go do it. So I guess the subject of this podcast is there are all of these things that need to happen for you to make projects. On the lower side, you just move it forward however you can move it forward by any means necessary.
Yeah.
Right? So if you don't have the time or the money to do the research, you don't have the time or the money to fly out to the place where you want to shoot, you don't have the time or the money to figure out, how to get ahead of it, then you just do it. And as you move up the ladder, you start preparing a lot more for the things that are going to make your movie better. In no way should you ever stop because, you think you don't have it or you're not doing this right or you're not doing that right. Move that rock up the hill, you made a movie, you're going to give it to a distributor, you're going to get paid as that distributor sells the movie, and they're going to ask you for delivery items. You're going to deliver those delivery items and you're going to get paid.
Do they give you money to do that, or you have to find the money elsewhere? Or does it depend?
It depends. I think you have to be prepared to bridge some of the business.
So is that an investor, or is it?
You can use an investor. You can use yourself. You can use a bank. You can use credit cards. However you need to do it to bridge what needs to happen is the best way.
So it's like insurance. Like they say, okay, we're going to give you money, but go and shoot something. Let's see what you do. And then when that comes in, they go, okay, we're going to give you a little bit more money.
Well,
keep going.
It's more organized than that. They'll give you a chunk of money for signing the deal.
Yeah.
They'll give you a chunk of money for starting production. They'll give you a chunk of money for delivering a rough cut that is acceptable to them.
Yeah.
And then they'll give you the final chunk of money when you deliver the finished movie with all of its delivery items.
Yeah.
Foreign, M&E, all those things, right? Yeah. And M&E
But they've already approved the script, so they already know what they're going to be getting. It's not like a blind.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to mess it up really bad.
Yeah.
Something would have to go severely wrong for them not to go like, oh, okay, yeah, let's make this work. And, and I think, look, the one safety, and we've talked about this on the show, the one safety, if you sell a movie to a network, is to use a producer that network has worked with before.
Yeah.
And that way you can piggyback on their experience and you're not as panicked as to what should be happening,
Yeah.
And then once you learn how to deliver it to a network or a studio, then next time you do it on your own and oh, I don't have to worry about this. I just have to deliver that. Like part of the thing is, I worked with a great producer, Paula Hart, last year on Feliz Navidad. We are not working with her this year, but I learned, she was so generous and I learned so much from her that I panicked more last year than I am this year. It's because I had to learn the system of delivering and how it happened and what information you need to give the network. We're thinking about titles right now for the movie.
Yeah.
We're thinking about cast members. All of the crew needs to be run through the network so that they can approve those. And a lot of times it's not like they're going to say no. They just need to know that you're picking someone that
works for them.
Yeah. It's going to work for the movie and do a good job.
it's interesting because each movie is different. It's like a kid. So like Feliz Navidad,
Yeah.
you guys started with the title,
Yes.
you know, and it was like all based off this title and the script was written. So for this movie, it was more based off of an idea, not so much a title.
Yeah.
Now you're looking for the title.
Well, dude, that's a really great point. We should talk about that. So, and just to put a pin in it, all production is complicated. It's just different.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be
It's
stopped.
like kids.
Yeah. And you shouldn't be stopped at any point. You should, if you're doing it with 10 grand, 2 grand, whatever, do it. Show up, shoot with what you got.
Yeah.
If you've got millions of dollars, prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Prepare everybody that's with you. Prepare your crew. Make sure that everyone's going to do the best that they can do to make the story great. Everyone care about the story. And then when it comes to networks or investors, you know, you include them, you pick the best people available, you deliver according to their delivery requirements. And you know, and there'll be a lot of stuff that you have to do when you sell to a network. There'll be, you know, promotional stuff that they're going to need. They're going to need pictures of all of the celebrities or all of the actors in your movie individually that you'll have to deliver to them so that their marketing department can create posters and stuff like that off of the stuff that you gave them. So there's a lot of stuff to do and a lot of things to remember, but that's what your crew's there for. And that's why the licensing fee exists, so that you can get paid and then you can take a portion of that fee and make sure that you deliver all things necessary to make a movie that a network can then market. So Feliz Navidad came out of an elevator, right? We were on an elevator and Mario said, how hard could it be to come up with a Christmas movie? Feliz Navidad, the song, turned it into a single dad and his daughter, and literally came up with it in a log line. And then we went to Peter, and then Peter turned it into a story. And then we went to an investor, and then that investor paid for the script. And then we went to a network, and the network said, yeah, let's do this. And we made it.
Yeah.
That was one way, right? Yeah. So I had to raise 140,000, 144,000. No, I'm sorry, 130,000.
Yeah.
To get to that point. And then the big risk was, would a network buy it? And the answer was yes, because Mario was attached.
Yeah.
The next time we did it, we had an idea and decided, let's skip the investor. Let's go directly to the network, since we already have a relationship now.
Yeah.
And they know what we can do. And we'll pitch them an idea with a writer that they potentially like, with Mario starring. And that ended up becoming what our current movie is, which I can't talk about, but we'll talk about next time.
Yeah.
So that's two completely different ways to sell a movie.
Yeah.
Not always the most popular way. You just want to go make whatever you want to make, and you want to just prove that you can do it. You know, that's one way of doing it too.
Yeah. So the other way was almost like on a spec. The Feliz
Yeah,
Navidad
we
was
took a
almost
big
on
risk.
spec.
Yeah, it was a huge risk.
20
Huge risk.
scripts were sold on specs this year, I read, in like IndieWire.
Yeah, it was a
Not a lot.
huge risk, but you got to think about it. The Feliz Navidad was a great name.
Yeah.
Feliz Navidad, the story was a great story.
Yeah.
And we had Peter Murrieta, and Elisa Murrieta, who are terrific writers. So we thought,
Ed Lopez, who's
and
Mr.
Lopez,
Christmas.
who is Mr. Christmas. So you had those elements, and you're like, "God, that's a good thing to risk $130,000 on." So the guy who risked it, which was Mickey Gooch, risked $130,000 for the opportunity to make the movie, make some money, get a credit.
Yeah.
Or he would lose the whole $130,000 if this team didn't pay off, but it did pay off.
Yeah.
But it was a good package. So
Yeah.
you have to think about, what package do I have? What am I selling?
Yeah.
Do I have something valuable? Those guys, the whole thing was pretty valuable. Now we don't want to do that anymore. We don't want to risk, anything. So you just get the package back together and you pitch it to a network and let the network handle all of the financing for the forward movement of that project. It's a lot of information in 25 minutes.
Yeah, that's a lot of. Listen, anyone that's listening that's interested, this is what you're up against.
Yeah.
Not easy.
Dave and I, we were throwing bocces the other day. We were throwing some zingers against these foos with their bocce shirts, and then we were having a little pedo. And I told Dave, dude, going forward, I want him to produce with me. Like, I want to just do certain things, but I don't want to do everything.
Yeah.
So, Dave,
man,
he's my guy.
Right.
We shook hands, all pedo. And that's it.
Did you guys shake hands off pedo?
Yeah.
Did you hug it out?
No, we didn't hug it out. We just shook hands, and I said, Dave, you down? He said, I got you.
Gotcha.
So you got to listen to this fool because all that shit has to happen
for
next
sure.
time around.
Dude,
Yeah,
there's a tremendous amount of stuff that has to happen, and it is daunting and it is scary. But again, we're in the business of delivering way more than just a movie, right? Because the movie itself is the icing on the cake. It's all of the other elements that you need to kind of sweep so that it's at the same time, you know? And I think it all has to do with politics. It all has to do with keeping your cool. It all has to do with really rolling up your sleeves and doing the work, and not expecting someone else to do it.
Yeah.
And I think, look, if I can give you one piece of advice, and I made the mistake many times, is do the work. Even if it's the application for SAG, do the work. Even if it's the application for E&O insurance, do the paperwork yourself. Don't expect someone else to do that work because, when you know how to do that, you'll never not know how to deliver a movie. And if you're not doing it with your own hands and you're expecting like, oh, because you're a producer, someone else should do that. Well, that's not the facts. The facts are you have to make sure that you deliver everything. And on a smaller level, why would anyone care about doing that better than you? It's your movie. It's your project. I always have a tendency, I call SAG after I get my rep.
Yeah.
And I want them to hear my voice. I want them to hear what my inflection is. I want them to see how much I care about what I'm doing.
They assign you a rep after you fill out your...
You fill out the paperwork and they assign you a rep.
Yeah.
And then you call that rep and you're like, hey, it's Mark Roberts. It's Mario Lopez and I are doing this movie.
Yeah.
We care deeply about what we're up to. And we're so happy and proud to be working with you guys. And let's, whatever you need, let us know what you need.
That rep says, what's up, foos?
That's right. I mean, it's valuable. Let's talk about Russ Emanuel for a second.
Please.
So extrememusic.com.
Yeah.
I got calls from 2 different reps last week. This is funny.
It's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. The second guy, I feel bad because I had to hang up on him because I was busy. But the first guy, we talked for a long time, and he was like, hey, just, check it, kind of like what you guys talked about, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Check it. He called all 3 of us, right?
Yeah.
We were
Mike
talking-
Jones is his name.
Mike Jones, yeah.
Yeah.
Who?
Mike Jones.
Who? Mike Jones.
So Mike Jones,
Yeah.
the smell good plumber.
Yeah.
So he calls me and he's like, and I'm like, we have a podcast where we talk about you every week. He's like, yeah, I don't know if he knew or not. But he was like, just want to make sure that we're taking care of you and that there's nothing you need. I said, well, I am doing a new Christmas movie and I'm doing another Christmas movie in December. So I am looking for like changes in the library as it refers to Latino Christmas movie, Southwestern Christmas music, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, okay, good to know. I said, I wrote to Russ already. And I told him all about this, and I told him that I want more stuff.
Why are you going over Mike's head? That's
I know.
dude.
The funny thing is, Mike was
Damn.
like, "Well, that's who you should be talking to. If you got
You
a
turned right
direct,
around.
yeah." He's like, "If you got a direct line to Russ, then you're talking to the right guy." Russ, if you're listening,
He's on the case.
yeah, man, get on that. I'm gonna need it like on March 29th because what the way it works for me is I start listening to music before the movie ends. And as the movie's going, I'm sending cues to the editor.
Nice.
Yeah.
Going like, oh, for this scene.
Roberts is an on-hands producer. I mean,
like
he
that.
just
I like
went
that.
through, think about what he said. He goes through the script and goes through dialogue and action before in pre-production. Like most producers don't do that. That's a director's job or a writer's
You're
job.
true.
You know what I'm saying? So
I'm going to have
goes
to
through that.
re-listen to this episode, Teddy, before we
Yeah.
get started.
It's so valuable.
But this is the master class.
That's what's up.
Think about things that you do that you know it inside out.
True.
So if you're doing a movie where this is important and in this scene, like you have to see that certain cup or you have to see that person has to walk in and say this line or you're trying to create a sentiment.
But are most producers like that?
I think so. I think there's a lot of great, look, producers win awards too.
Now, does the director, do you have, because I know you punched somebody in the face one time, but that was
Ooh.
different. But like for stuff like that, does you and the director ever like, hey, does the director pull you aside and say, hey, I'd appreciate you not getting involved with this?
Well, I mean, look.
But you're producing it, so you're kind of like.
I've worked with Mario Lopez for a lot of years, and I tend to trust things that he says because I know that he has his finger on the pulse of pop culture and
Yeah.
things that are cool because he's in it every day, right?
Yeah.
So if I
Well, he hangs
suggest,
around with me too.
yeah, so if I suggest something to him and he goes, "Oh man, that's pedo," then I will usually
You can't put that in the thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's pedal.
I usually think that that's okay, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
okay backing out of that. If I go to a director and I say, "Hey, what if this shot happens here?" Or what, and I usually don't, but let's
Yeah.
assume I would have an opinion about something. If that director is opposed to that suggestion,
Yeah.
then I'm usually okay with it. If I am passionate about an idea and it doesn't come off well and you don't see what I'm saying, then I'm going to back off because obviously I'm not clear about what I'm passionate about. Because if I am passionate about
Then you're gonna
something,
make
you
it-
will see it.
Yeah, you'll make it.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're clear
Yeah.
about your passion, someone's going to go like, "Oh my God, that's a great idea." And if you're not working with someone that says, "Hey, that's a great idea," then you should move on from that person because in this business, the best idea wins.
Yeah. And again, it's a collaborative thing. Like I know
It's
projects
collaborative as long as you do what I say.
well, you just
Makes sense.
said
I get it,
if
I
you're
get
not passionate about it, then
I'm kidding. All right. Well, that was a good conversation. I kind of needed to vent, and thank you guys for letting
yeah,
me
no, I
vent.
know you don't let us talk anymore, but that's okay. This is the Mark Roberts show.
No, I mean I needed to vent about how I was feeling because I am feeling
Great information. Don't
I
get me
am
wrong.
feeling stressed
Yeah.
about what's happening, and I felt like it's important to let people know that you forget how stressful it was to start.
Yeah, because it's not every project sunshine and rainbows. It's some projects are like tough. They're tough
Yeah.
because things don't turn out the way you anticipated, and then you gotta rely on your team. You gotta rely on the experience. You gotta you gotta know what you're doing too. In a sense, like, are you doing a Lifetime Christmas movie? Or are you doing Mission Impossible 8?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're two different types of movies. So
Really?
no, not really.
Well, we're all in the same boat, whether you're doing Made in Mexico or you're doing Feliz Navidad or you're doing Mission Impossible. Our goal is to entertain people.
Yeah.
But
But you got to rely on, like I relied on people. I relied on Weiser. I relied on Lilo. I relied on Ron Lee. I even, I when those guys would come up with stuff, like you said, and if I was passionate about it, we would do it. If their idea, if I saw it and I got it and they were passionate about them, we would do that.
Yeah.
And it ended up turning out really, really well. You flaked on the screening we have, both you foos actually. So
I couldn't do it, man.
but it turned out really, really well.
Well,
Lopez was pretty excited.
That's good.
He even posted. Here's how I knew he liked it. You want to know how I knew? I sat behind him and we were in kind of like a little theater at Alarcon's place, and he was on his phone taking photos of the screen.
Screen caps. I like it.
And guess what else? Not one time did he go on Instagram in that 84 minutes,
Nice.
which was
That's huge.
that's huge.
Yeah.
So it ended up turning out really well.
I like that.
Well, I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of you for doing the movie. I'm looking forward to working with you guys on the film in New Mexico, which is at the end of March. So we'll be doing our podcast from New Mexico, which should be pretty exciting.
How many weeks were there?
We're gonna be there for 3 weeks, and I mean probably a few days. You'll come out the weekend before, but
And then you're gonna send us on a vacation for a week. So that's what's up. 4 weeks on the road.
But the number one thing to keep in mind is just keep moving forward, keep pushing the projects forward, keep knowing that look. One thing I did do, this is the last thing I'm going to say. One thing I did do is I was so stressed this weekend that I was like, was I this stressed last year? And I went back in my emails.
Oh, yeah, you
found
were.
the actual day. I found the actual day 6 weeks before the production of Feliz Navidad.
Yeah.
And I started to read those emails just to see where I was in my head.
Yeah.
And it was massively stressful. So it just goes to show you that, the work, I don't know, dude. I mean, if you think about it, when you go run a marathon, are you thinking, this should be super easy? No, it's going to be hard, right? You're going to be running up hills. You're going to be sweating. You're going to lose continence. You're going to, things are going to happen, but you're going to finish and you're not going to remember because your achievement is so great.
Yeah.
So you have to think about the end mark, not where you're at right now.
What about our roles? Did we get roles?
And the roles, right?
Totally, there we
But
go.
all of those things have to, you guys have to do your job. But my job is to prepare it all so that when you show up, you can do your job.
Yeah.
right? Because if I don't do my job, then you're not going to be able to do your job very well.
Yeah.
So it's all part of the same thing. Just keep it moving forward. If you're in charge as a producer, just be in everything and make sure that it's right.
You're right.
All right, guys.
That's
Dave,
right.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Do you want to have a final thought in here?
Like I said, hey, if you need to know exactly what's going on the production side or the producer side, listen to the masterclass here, because you can't buy this anywhere.
No, and you know what? Hit us up on the IG and ask some questions, because we keep saying that we never check.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right. Well, this was a long show, but I think we got something out of it. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for being here.
Thank you guys.
We'll see you next time on Let's Get Into Entertainment.
The business of entertainment.
Oh, that's what's up. Let's do it.